afternoon and good evening, everyone. My name is Paolo Barlera. I'm the interim director of the Italian Cultural Institute in New York, and it is my pleasure to introduce the fourth episode of the series Until Further Notice. It's a series of conversation about the current situation of the professions of the art world in this period of uncertainty. We have been talking to artists and to gallerists, and today we are honored to have with us two very important artists. We have with us from Brooklyn, Federico Solmi, and from Italy, from Naples, Marinella Senatore. To moderate the conversation is our friend Maurita Cardone, art writer and journalist, who is the creator of the series, and we're very thankful to her for this collaboration. Thank you, Federico and Marinella, for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
I leave the screen and the microphone to you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Thank you for hosting this. Thank you to the Italian Culture Institute. And thank you to our audience for being here. I know these are stressful days for everyone, so we hope we can offer you a distraction while we wait for the election results. And thank you, Federico and Marinella, for being here. I'm going to introduce Marinella and Federico briefly, and then we will start chatting. While we chat, I'm going to show some of their works. We're not going to spend too much time on the works, but if you have questions, there's going to be time at the end for questions from the audience. Use the Q&A button in the toolbar and stick with us until the end. Marinella Senatore is a multidisciplinary artist based in Rome. Her practice is characterized by a strong participatory dimension and a constant dialogue between history, popular culture, and social structures. The artist takes on the role of activator of the mechanism, which is the work of art, producing a transforming force that propagates in the surrounding reality until it reaches the viewer. Marinella's work has been exhibited widely throughout Italy and abroad, including at Manifesta 12, Centre Pompidou, Maxi Museum, Queen's Museum, Castello di Rivoli, Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, Highline, New York, Venice Biennale, and many others. Senatore is also the winner of the 4th edition of Italian Council of Art Grant Dresden, Maxi Prize, Castello di Rivoli Fellowship, the American Academy in Rome Fellowship, the New York Prize, and others. Federico Solmi is a visual artist based in New York. His kinetic works combine painting with 3D animation and the visual techniques of video games to portray a dystopian and satirical vision of our society. His exhibitions often feature articulate installations composed of a variety of media, including video, painting, drawing, and sculpture. In 2009, Solmi was awarded by the Guggenheim Foundation with the John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Fellowship in the category of video and audio. His work has been featured in several international biennials, including Beijing Media Art Biennial, Frankfurt B3 Biennial of the Moving Image, the 25th Venice Biennial. Most recently, Solmi's work was featured in Times Square, New York for Midnight Moment, and in a solo exhibition in the Ronald Fieldman Gallery booth at the 2019 Armory Show. His work, The Great Farce, was recently acquired by the Phillips Collection. Again, thank you guys for being here. So as we usually do, I want to start this conversation by telling to our audience a little bit about how was for you, how did you experience, what was your experience of the lockdown, of the beginning of the pandemic? Where were you staying at the time? And how was your everyday routine? So Marinella.
Sure. Well, actually, I'm back in Italy, and currently I live and work in Rome, and I left Italy over 15 years ago. So I travel around the world. I lived for a long time in Spain. I lived in New York a couple of years, London, Berlin 3 years. So I'm pretty nomadic. It's also some prerogative of my practice. But my last home was Paris. And then in occasion of the first lockdown, I decided to come back to Italy. And actually in Rome, a city where I lived in 1999 when I attended the Nation Film School here. And in a lot of ways, it's a city that didn't change very much. So at the moment I'm here, it's good for me to come back to Italy for a while. And I take a lot of advantage of this time of a lockdown. It seems a bit not very nice to say it, but it's true, because my routine was so overwhelming, and I travel a lot and working so much every month and taking flights and go in every corner of the world, that for me it was a very important moment of reflection, of working in a studio that I really missed a lot, and also an occasion to make even more stronger platform for community aggregation and participatory projects. So I improved very much my radio channel, my work with soundtrack, and the School of Narrative Dance online. So it was a very, very good moment for me, in order also to rethink not really much strategy, but the way to make things and how I was proceeding in life in general, and not only in my job, which is something very important for me, crucial, central, of course, but a more sustainable way also to make art, produce art, and being in this society in a more participation, more attentive towards people, more maybe even more serious about this job. And actually I became I was activist for a long time. Now I'm a bit slow in that, because the amount of work as artist was pretty overwhelming in the last years. But I decided then to retake my role as advocate for art workers. So a lot of things that are very dear to me. And yeah, that's what I did.
I want to ask you about this last thing that you said, but before we get to that, how is Rome these days?
How
is Rome?
Rome. Well, it's not sad as Paris, because it's not paralyzed, and the lockdown is partial, so it's not so tough actually. But this is a strange city. It seems to me that it never changes, even in such a dramatic times. So it's chaotic and slow at the same time, and but yeah, we cannot complain, honestly. There other areas of Italy are pretty more in danger, and it's not easy at all. I'm thinking about Puglia, Sicily, or Milan, for instance, and Turin as the major city. So we can really not complain, I guess. We should be even more careful and attentive, in my opinion.
Federico, how was your experience?
Well, like everyone, we went through a lot of changes, So for me, I just wanted to say that once I arrived in New York in 1999, I found myself that this was the perfect place for me, Brooklyn in particular. And I'm basically like the opposite of Marinella. So I never experience like a nomadic life. I found my strength into like my routine, you know. So, and I work with a lot of assistants that help me to create this project, and pretty much like, you know, I'm very connected to the people that are around me, that are the people I see the most. And to me, travel has always been a pain, you know, even if, you know, I was traveling quite a bit. So, well, things have changed, you know, and at the beginning of the pandemic in March, we were not allowed to come pretty much to the studio. I mean, like, you know, it was very difficult, and I transformed my home basement into like a temporary studio, which now, you know, is still like a studio. But I'm back to Brooklyn. Like, you know, I'm back to Brooklyn, and the big difference is this: that instead of having many people at my studio, I was able to move all of my video work and all of this, you know, technology that we do at the studio. I was able to do it remotely, which to me is an incredible advantage, because you know, I was often very distracted by the two people that are developing the assets that they are for the video animation. And this to me helped me tremendously to stay focused on my practice, that is mainly painting, storyboarding, researching. And I see like, you know, a fantastic opportunity to reinvent myself, like, you know. And what happened is that at the moment, I was able to basically get more intimate with myself, like, you know, try to do things that I was doing when I was more like an emerging artist, like let's say, like, you know, researching, doing a lot of preparatory drawings, sketching idea, and spend more time with my assistant to discuss about the work, which is very important, like, you know. And I think we were able to go deeper, you know. And this is something that once the world will reopen, I don't want to lose it again, like, you know. So I'm thinking, like, you know, for sure, like, you know, less traveling if it's possible, send somebody else instead of me going to follow the exhibition. That's the way I perceive the future, like, you know. And I see like a future in a way, like, you know, in a very optimistic way, despite the pandemic, like, you know. So
I see now you are in your studio in Brooklyn, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
My studio is basically like a mess now, because we just delivered like a big exhibition. They open this week, and you know, and now it's time to clean up everything and move all of this stuff to the storage, repaint everything, and start a new body of work, you know. And I feel relief, to be honest, to be able to accomplish a big exhibition in this, you know, not great situation, because, you know, it seems like in Europe, like, you know, museum and gallery, they were somehow managed, the pandemic was a bit more under control, but, you know, all of my museum exhibition were canceled or postponed, except one, which opened last week. So, and yeah, you know, so I'm back at the studio, very excited and ready to, you know, to start a new body of work.
That sounds exciting. Thank you. So I just wanted to say, before we show some of your works, that I really like the idea of having Marinello and Federico together here today, because though they do it in very different ways, they kind of deal with the same or with a similar subject matter. In her performances, Marinella creates actual marches, parades, processions made of hundreds of people, with the idea of building or strengthening communities. Federico, on the other hand, with his very unique technique, represents parades, carnivals, and he does so with a satirical take, highlighting also the dangers of mass society. So For for the people in the audience who don't know their work, I want to show a video for each of them, and then I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna start with Marinella, and then I'm gonna ask Marinella to say a few words about her process, and also what. Marinella, tell us a little bit after we see the video, we watch the video, a little bit what interests you in this idea of parades. I'll show the video first.
Yes,
Let me share the screen. Let me share the screen, and then we talk after the video.
Sure.
Let me know if you see it all right. I'm gonna share the audio as well here.
Figaro, hey, caro. Surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three.
This is a short trailer of the last performance in Cold Spring, by the way, produced by Magazzino, Italian art. And it was developed within the framework of my school of narrative dance, which is my only performative project that I founded this nomadic free of charge school in 2013. And we worked with over 6 million of people in more than 17 countries so far. So it's definitely a very big project, focused on the emancipation, the empowerment of people. And firstly, it's primarily actually a didactic process based on horizontal system of education where people can share skills, abilities, and we promote emancipation in the idea of the ignorant master by Jacques Rancière, to quote one of the tradition that we read together very often. And it's built on the idea that workshop can be led by literally everybody. So we try to highlight and engage local energies, basing our experience on non-verbal languages, and then the final restitution is always a performance. But in general, my practice is completely focused on participation in so many levels. And the School of Narrative Dance, which is what we saw, it's natural conclusion of this, but I have a participation in mind, which doesn't mean interaction always, but participation is more complex in a certain way. And I have it in mind wherever I make a drawing or an installation or even object-based artworks. So I'm a multidisciplinary artist. So I really literally play with languages. I always declare that languages for me are just opportunities, possibilities, tools in a certain way. I don't really dedicate my interest and focus on the performance itself. And actually, I think that I don't have very much to do with the performance in the historical terms. As an artist, I activate and I foster emancipation and self-cultivation of participants, and I don't perform myself either. And this is the way I include the possibility to withdraw my presence as author in so many projects. Yeah, my focus is very, very precise. I want to work with the communities. I want to empower people. I want to promote vision for possibility of gathering. And a lot of people are asking me this time, how come you're working so much while you cannot have a physical gathering of people? Especially because I'm very often associated to, I don't know, thousands of people in a project, blah, 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 which is completely, it's not important for me at all, the number. It's important the quality of the experience that we provide and we share with the people. But yes, the numbers are pretty fantastic, and which means that our methodology is enough flexible to be always site specific. And yeah, there are a lot of things that you can do in order to activate communities and people. And it's not only about dancing or moving in the street. The School of Narrative Dance is pretty good project online. And actually we are currently working in Amsterdam while we are talking. We are running a big project there. And as I say, the final restitution of the School of Narrative Dance is always a performance. So despite the situation, and actually portraying the situation, people are telling about this distance. The body is extremely powerful. Again, it's another tool for communication, and it's extremely powerful.
I'll ask you more about this later on, because I want to discuss about this kind of art in the era of social distancing. Sure. But let's watch Federico's video first, so we get an idea of what he does as well. So Federico, maybe first of all, you want to explain what's the process behind your work, since it's so unique. And then go ahead.
Yeah, let me tell you one thing first. Like, you know, this piece was originally conceived for actually an outdoor installation from the Schauspiel Theater, the facade in Frankfurt. The projection was 130 meter wide, was a massive public installation, which, by the way, is very interesting, because to me, I wanted to share with the people that are walking on the street something they usually stay just in the, you know, in the white box of the gallery and museum. So to me, it was a very important element, that the fact that, you know, I was basically, with this project, The Great Farce, I was basically trying to build a satirical video installation in which I was sort of like accusing the misleading and the inaccuracy of the American history books. So basically, I spent quite a bit of time to research about how American history is narrated, especially in the high school, middle school, and through, like, you know, my research, you know, I found like some a lot of ambiguous elements, which you know, actually, especially in the past year, like, you know, with all of this issue that we have in America with you know, that came out with the Trump administration, like, you know, about like, you know, Black Lives Matter, and give importance to history that they're not like, you know, just the white point of view. So basically, with this work, I was really criticizing the sort of like ethnocentric view of the American establishment. And I think, like, you know, it's very interesting because, you know, this is a very delicate theme, and it's very, to me, very funny that for the American people is a taboo. For me, as an European, you know, I was able to start to analyze this theme back in 2015, which, you know, they were really taboo. Now they're everywhere, like, you know. So to me, I was very interested in understand, since I've been living in the United States for 20 years, to understand the history of this country, you know, and the best way for me to understand about the history of this country is to make work about the history of this country and to put my opinion, like, you know. So in a way, I feel like, you know, my participation of the people into my project, they are, you know, through try to put this big project into public square, like Times Square or Frankfurt or wherever they're going. So I'm really trying to, you know, bring the message to the people, like, you know, that unfortunately in my work they cannot perform, but since they are surrounded by this very unconventional imagery, especially through like a city square, you know, you're not used to see things like this. So in a way, to me, is a way to do my social, to send my social message, like my social commentary message to the people, to say, be awake, like, you don't believe on whatever is printed on the newspaper or whatever is on the internet. Just do your own research and you will find a lot of surprises, like, you know. So in a way, it's definitely like, you know, like try to awake the masses, like, you know. And let me tell you the last things, like, you know, for me, actually, when I did this piece, I was really thinking about the Mexican muralists. Like, you know, you have to think that this video was sort of like, I think 6 meters by 130. And basically I conceive as a moving fresco of some of the most controversial moment of American history, like, you know. And that was like, you know, the behind the scene research on this work, you know.
Okay. You always have, or often in your works, you have this big celebrations, this big, this kind of big social gatherings. Rituals, social rituals. What is that interests you in those kind of moments?
Well,
why do you think?
Well, I think, like, you know, I think that you know, now, you know, getting more familiar also with the work of Marinella, you know, I see that you know, it's the surrounding which we'll grow up. Like, you know, we grow up with big religious celebration. I believe we grow up probably watching movies that you know, the Italian neorealism, like, you know, let's say Federico Fellini. Like, you know, I think that to me, what bring my parade to contemporary America, the contemporary context is definitely this you know, renowned nationalist spirit of exceptionalism, this pride of being the greatest country in the world, like, you know, all of these, like, sort of like propagandistic message that they are into American society. And they are particularly once, you know, we move from like, you know, administration that they were more, like, you know, polite to the recent administration. And I believe this spectacularization of parade, they really reconnect to authoritarian government, like, you know. So that's more or less, I think, like my take on and of course, like, you know, when you wanted to transmit the, you know, power of a nation like United States and an authoritarian voice like the latest president, you have to do in a very spectacular way, like, you know. And what is best than parade and speeches, you know? So that's probably what drive me to do this, you know. But probably a lot of things are unconscious. Like, you know, for example, like, you know, when I saw the video of Marinella, I don't know if she allowed me to say, I feel immediately like, you know, this beautiful festivity of the Fellini Amarcord, or, for example, The Voice of the Moon, like, you know, Fellini, like, you know, this kind of like street culture that probably is also in the movie of Martin Scorsese, like, you know, of Francis Ford Coppola. Like, so there is this DNA that is in our culture that is the way to celebrate life, you know, parade and festivity and craziness and people playing instruments. Very so bacchanalian.
Right, it's the Italian streets that are entering both your works.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, definitely. Since both your works deal with this, this is more for Marinella, I think, but you know, especially for you, Marinella, since in your works you usually have all these people, you were saying, you know, lots of people are asking you how come you can work so much this period of time. And you were saying there are other ways of social interactions that we can use. We can use the internet. So I'm wondering if you are thinking about new ways to make that happen in a different environment and maintaining social distance. Your microphone is off.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay. Actually, I guess that my work is very much into environment in virtual and physical terms. And the environment can be a sort of field where social and physical field where a lot of elements, also dissonant elements, can join and generate an energy, a sort of short circuit that generates an energy. What I try to do as activator, because I like very much to think about my role as the role of an activator, is to setting in place this mechanism in order to make something happen and generate energy from the elements equal in value but very different that already exist. That's what I do when I approach a new community or a new group of people, and it's very important for me to highlight that such mass participatory project, in my opinion, and based on an experience of so many years, can work exclusively when you think about individuals first. So you don't think about them very blur entity without individuality. And of course, this is very consuming work because you spend a lot of time with the people and you try to don't have a pre-existent instance in your mind and let people shape the project itself. But this is how I like to make it. And obviously the performance and the parade, based or not on ritual, religious or not, based on the structure of political carnival or gathering in the street, it's something extremely powerful, and obviously it's possible to reconnect to a lot of things. It's not far from the reality that I worked actually with. My background, there is movie a lot because I study also cinema and I worked professionally in the movie field, and I attended the National Film School in Rome with the director of photography of Fellini, Giuseppe Rotunno. So I'm very much into that, but this is part of a sort of legacy, let's say, cultural heritage that we have in our mind. But in my case, it's also very powerful, my side as activist. And so everything I lived as activist, and the South American carnival with a very specific, in its origin, very political meaning, the gathering on the street, the people that take the street in a certain way or in another. And performance, as I said, it's very powerful, very colorful, and can be very touching, very slow, very fast. But there are a lot of other languages that can be precious tools for gathering and engage people. I work a lot with sounds, for instance. So I created this. Actually, I'm currently working with the Magazzino Italian Art on a project that will be developed in this fall, making a soundtrack of the city. So people, of course, sending sounds also of their daily life, will provide the material for a musical composition that I will make together with composers, locals and or not. Again, the radio, another platform that it's working very well, where people gather discussion, debates, and sharing of noises, music, and whatever. Since my work is very often based on workshop, it's not, it was never a problem actually to work remotely. What I tried to do during this pandemic time and the lockdown, especially the first lockdown, was to empower even more this platform, because we already work it this way. When I worked in a project produced by Peggy Guggenheim Foundation in Venice, I worked with over 3 million of kids. And of course, I couldn't reach so many people. So what I did was to work remotely and through a lot of technologies that are already at our disposal.
That's a great advantage. Thank you. Federico, in your case, you don't work with actual people in your works, but at the same time, I'm wondering if, you know, the era of social distancing made you think or rethink about your work, or if it's entering what you're doing anyhow.
Well, as I said, like, you know, I think to me at the moment just give me great advantage, because I'm able to move my technical people to work from home, and we do screen share, and we can work remotely and save all of these huge files into servers. You know, it's been fantastic for me, because I always, you know, I always have for the past 15 years, always people every day at the studio to develop this very long project. Basically, I was in production for the past 15 years with never a break, and now I feel I'm alive. You know, I feel like I can just like touch base a couple of times a day, and we can share what we develop, and this has been fantastic on this side for me. So,
but as a subject, this is not entering into your work at all. No, you're not thinking like at the moment a socially distanced version of your parades.
No, it doesn't, like, you know, usually, like, you know, it doesn't impact me at the moment in terms of like theme, and, you know, of course I was very, you know, keeping an eye on what will happen with the election, but, you know, to see, you know, but no, it's not something that at the moment is influencing the next choice of work, you know.
Okay. In my case, it's different, because I work site specific, and I work with people and the specific community. So of course, as life changes and the structure, social structure changes, of course, it enters a lot. So it's a different approach, definitely.
Definitely. I want to go back to something Federico was saying before, because Federico, you were talking about how in your work you're trying to tell a different version of American history. And so this is a very timely topic these days, because as you know, you know, in recent times, the idea of symbols, monuments, and whatever different societies decide to celebrate has been under discussion. I'm curious, how do you feel about that conversation? Do you think that we should be reviewing the symbols that...
Well, I tell you this, like, you know, I tell you that 5 years ago to work on a theme like this was not very cool, you know. 5 years today, it seems like it's the, especially in the United States, is the discourse of the moment. You know, I can tell you that 5 years ago, you know, gallery and institution, they were not so open about. There is a huge hypocrisy also in this like message that is coming out in 2020. You know, because if we end up with Black Lives Matter and all of these other movement that are trying to you know, give space to people of color and people from you know, that are not white, it means that the art world, the society, I'm talking about American society, they were really participating on this issue, like, you know. So now I feel that my work is perfectly in line with the discourse of the day, but you know, I'm telling you that you know, this is took a while to get there, you know. So, and people don't realize that, you know. So now there is the attention of the moment, like, you know. But when in 2015 I did a big show in LA, like, you know, I remember that galleries, they were nervous, you know. Then we got a great article in an LA Times, and we start to sell work, and of course everything became wonderful, like, you know. But I remember that there was a lot of resistance, you know, a lot of resistance to touch American taboo. That's what it is, right. American taboo, you know. And by the way,
but it's also happening. The conversation has started, yeah. So there is hope.
Well, unfortunately, like, you know, through all my career, like, you know, I always touch, you know, subjects that are in part are problematic, like, you know. And I remember, for example, Ronald Feldman, which is a gallery that is, you know, it's been around for many, many years. When we did a solo show in 2018 at the Armory Show, he told me that it never happened to him in all of his career that, you know, like an art fair monitor every single piece that was exhibited at the Armory Show because they were afraid of controversial work. This was 2018, you know, and it never happened to him. He told me, like, you know, and of course everything went smooth. And but that's, I just want to tell you, just 1 year ago, how things were different, you know.
Right. Were the images I was showing, those that were shown at the Armory, some of them were,
yes,
right?
There was a piece that was an Armory show, and now he's traveling. Yeah.
So, do you want to finish your thought, or?
No, I just say, like, you know, as you see in that particular piece, it's called the Grand Masquerade. It was like a sort of like a fictional battle inside of like a sort of like Colosseum, in which there was a reenactment of a battle between, you know, Civil War soldier and Native American, which is completely like taken out of context, you know. And basically it shows the spectralization of like this sort of like battle that become a parade, become like a reenacting. And you see the crowd that they are ecstatic, they are participant to this nonsense of like celebration of this spectacle. And you see that somehow in this piece, you know, the spectator became a sort of like you know, complicit into this sort of like celebrity culture adoration, you know. And somehow, you know, in a way there is this sort of like you know, like implicit accusation to the viewer that they also participating or creating this fake myth, you know, which is like, of course, happen a lot in American culture, like, you know. So
thank you. Also in Marinella's work, there are some symbols that are, you know, in a way reminiscent of the ways our cultures celebrate themselves. So Marinella, how do you feel about this conversation about monuments and symbols? And while you talk, I'm going to show some of your works as well.
Oh, yeah.
But go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I don't like to work about the symbols themselves, but definitely we are surrounded by, and in terms of monument, well, now you have banners that of course are a bit heraldic, but they take also their look from worker unions banners. So there is always a political aspect in that, and even in the formal choices that I pick. Here we have at the High Line in New York, this big luminaria, which is a structure that I really like, but the interest lies on vernacular languages and the complicity in a certain way, because I like these terms that Federico used, with artisan crafts and people with the skill and know-how that they wish to share with others. So I learned a lot. I'm not a choreographer, for instance, and now dance is definitely choreography. It's something that I use a lot in my work. I'm certainly not an artisan, and I'm not capable to create such a structure, but every single element that I use is not props, and it's something based on fostering, again, participation, inclusion, and a banner. It's something like a flag for a group of workers, and it's something that celebrates the rituals and the saints, the life of saints and the celebration. So it's again a tool to create a group behind. And the luminaria with this lighting big installation that are very dear to certain culture in the south of Italy specifically, they celebrate not only the saint and the religion festivity, but primarily they have this meaning of creating a piazza. A piazza for me can be a social space, and a social space is like a stage in a lot of senses. And that's what I like in the luminaria, not the decoration, but the idea to create an ephemeral architecture which is temporary, because I have a lot of problems with architecture. I think that it's always the symbol of the power, and this power is very hegemonic most of the time. So I like the ephemeral architecture, the architecture that can be rebuilt and reconstructed in other places. And definitely that's why my interest lies on this structure. So everything I pick, it's motivated and focused on the same line.
So what you're saying, if I'm understanding correctly, is I'm more interested in, rather than that, a monument or a symbol has meaning based on who is behind the symbol.
On the sociality they can create, on the aggregation or identity for a group they can create, their potentiality in the social tissues. That's what I'm interested in. Yeah.
All right. Which actually brings me to the next question, because in both your works, there is this idea of, in your work, Marinella, is more about people taking control, while in Federico's work seem to be more like people being controlled. So I'm thinking in these days, especially in the American society, but not only, because it's happening also in Italy and in many other places, we have been seeing a lot of social unrest. And in what is happening today, in a way, I can see confirmations or proofs of both of what both your works seem to say. Because in a way, I can see in what's happening proof of the fact that people want to need to be part of something, that want to have a community behind and around them, and that they want to care. So this is more like Marinella's approach. But at the same time, we can also see in what's happening proof of the fact that masses can be irrational, that ideologies can blind us. So I'm wondering, what do you guys see in this moment? If you see this social moment we're experiencing right now, more like going towards people taking control or more people being controlled. Federico, maybe you want to stop.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Marinella. It doesn't matter. I think
it's a melting. It's a mix of both, and the ecology of affection and the politics of caring or decolonizing and basing on feminist instance. Even at the institution, it's something that people are requiring and society is requiring. So it's so evident and obvious, but on the other hand, it's exactly as you said and as Federico said. So taking control, and I think that young generation are doing pretty much with ecology, and but there are a lot of instances and a lot of issues popping up, and we are in a moment where people try and other people need to, as always possible in history, I don't know, to take advantage of that. So I guess that it's a mess of feeling, ideas, ideologies, and purposes.
I'm showing some of your works that speak to the protest issues. Yeah, and you have many actually, but
assemblies or the artworks that can be useful, which for me is important, and they can activate resistance, resilience, and other forms of dignity in people. So of course the politics of caring and the ecology of affection are something that is more interesting for me, but the reality is very multifaceted, and we have to face a lot of consequences also for our own actions.
Federico, how do you read the social moment we're experiencing right now?
Well, first of all, I would like to say one thing, that the artist, the thinker, they are uncontrollable, so our creativity as an artist, as a free thinker, in a way, our work, Marinella and I and other artists, it really shows that despite, whatever government rule, whatever ideology rule, the artist, a great artist, supposed to create his own ecosystem, his own, ideology, because at the end, what we are doing as artists, we're creating like a parallel, we create a parallel, universe that is in our mind become a physical representation of our thought, and this for me is very important, because I can't compare myself to many other people that their life is just getting a job and get $200,000 a year with a job that somehow fit in society. At least most of the case of the artists, they are not perfect fit in society. That's why they create this extravagant body of work, because their voice is really witness a rebellion, at least for me, of the society in which we live, which, by the way, doesn't mean that you have to be fighting every day, but definitely for me art is is a representation of combating the ideology there are in society. It could be a political ideology, but it could be also the consumeristic society in which we're all enslaved. What I see personally, I see for sure that there is a huge loss of personal freedom and personal that goes into all of this for sure, social media, and controlled by this huge corporation that they record in every single movie in which we do, you know. And this, I think, is a great loss for us, and we're never gonna get it back, like, you know. So, but that's more or less how I feel, like, you know. I feel like, you know, independent thinker, they can always like, you know, navigate through the storm, you know, and create their own, you know, idealized life, you know. So I don't know if completely answered your question, but that's
almost.
Almost.
No, no, you did. I was showing some of your works, and that specific work is a depiction of some kind of human species that is created mechanically. Sure. So that illustrates what I was saying. Like in your work, there's this aspect of being controlled, and, you know, masses being totally controlled. So I was just my question was more about if you see in this moment the risk of being controlled the way it seems apparent in your work, but you did answer because you said social media too.
It's not anymore a risk. We are completely controlled. I mean, talking about risk is, you know, is evident that, you know, that we are completely controlled by particularly, like, you know, Silicon Valley company, that they own everything of us. They know everything, like, you know. So, you know, we have customized advertisement in every single Google search that we have. You buy, like, you know, a television, you open Facebook, you have 300 ads for television. But to me, I'm already over that. I'm already over. So in the image that you show, I show a potential apocalyptic ending of the society. So you have this beautiful remaining of you know, the monuments that are floating through space, and this was done in 2014. Like, you know, you have the Statue of Liberty, you have the symbol of American military, you have capitalist you know, symbol and Google logo. So, you know, it was lost 10 years ago already. We just took 10 years to realize it. You know, you really have to wait Social Dilemma to go to Netflix to understand, you know, man, like, you know, the art is supposed to understand, like, you know, in depth society. Like, you know, these are, to me, the artists I admire, you know, not just the artist that's trying to make the painting that somehow sell at the moment because the market goes toward a certain discourse. You know, no, to me, the artist is a thinker, is able to predict where society is going, like, you know. And sometimes, you know, like, you know, you don't get like, you know, all of the ovation of predicting too early what's happening, you know, what's going to happen to us, you know. So anyway.
I guess maybe Marinella is a little bit more optimistic on this.
I'm optimistic.
No, I'm just less secure that artists nowadays can really read life, or they should predict things. I prefer to imagine that there are a lot of varieties of practices. And speaking about practice, it's more important for me. My point of view is more focused on fostering visions and proposing not really alternative, but simply vision about things and how these things can be, since my work is also rooted into the social and urban issues. So yeah, so I will rather speak about talk about visions.
I see. Marinella, you were saying at the beginning of our conversation that you are starting or restarting to be involved in art workers' rights and something that you've always been interested in. I'm wondering if this is something that started specifically in this period of time because of the crisis we're experiencing that is making things worse.
Honestly, yes. my activism in this sense started with during the first lockdown. I always tried to protect my colleagues and to protect my own work, of course, and to be recognized as a worker, as everybody else, and be paid for that, and have insurance and all other things that workers should have, and we don't have, at least in Italy and in a lot of other countries. We are not considered even workers. So coming back to Italy was important also in order to proceed with such fights, and I'm very, very serious in that. And during the pandemic and the first lockdown, the total lockdown we have, it was absurd and intolerable what happened with the museum and institution, for instance, here. So no commission, no paid job, a lot of people asking for free work just in order to entertain. That's what they said. Even director, curators entertain people during quarantine, and it was unbelievable for me. It was the maximum degree of lack of respect for professionals and for workers that wake up every day and make their job. And I would like artists first to recognize their own role in society, because I think they have, and the institution, especially in our system, which is so autoreferential and so small, still small, and made by people that take control of economical interest, and less and less talk about artists, their right, how to protect artists in such delicate times, and the lack of commissions, the lack of payments, facing the fact that we had a lot of projects cancelled, was really unbelievable for me. So was the last, the no return point for me. So I see around the association of artists and artists that try to make things together, not enough, but it's always worth it to speak up about that. And I think that now it's really time to say no to unpaid job, and trying to be more in a sort of coalition. Artists are not good in that yet, but the right of the worker and the topics that we work about, we research of, and then we don't ask for respect. So I must say that this year was for me fantastic in terms of income. And I know that this is not nice to say, because we don't talk very much about money, but money are important because we are workers. And it was absolutely fabulous. And this is precisely the year where I'm fighting more for the right, because my position of fortunate artist that this year makes so many things, it's I mean, it's mandatory for me then to give my contribution. But it's very dramatic, the situation in this aspect, and not very sure how it's there in the US, but definitely here in Italy it's not good at all.
Well, in the US we don't have institutions. So in the US you don't have public support by institutions. So you guys in Italy and Europe, you always try to, at least before COVID, there is plenty of like, you know, institutional money to apply. Here, to me, I always live and hire tons of people through selling work to collection and private collection.
Also
and art
in Italy, the private is important, Federico. You don't have, at least in our home country, we don't have so many grants to apply for. Now it's slightly changing.
It's particularly, yes, you know, to me,
it's
like,
slightly changing, but in Germany, you have insurance, you have a very different stuff.
10 years ago, when I got the Guggenheim Fellowship, was a good amount of money. It was really one of the few things that I applied, because then I'm not going to apply for something that is like a ridiculous low amount of money. It's easy to me to to, you know, to get money from private collection, like, you know, from, you know, to me, like, you know, this is really like, I grew up in this cultural environment that is all about market. So I never go to knock doors to try to get money. Somehow, all of the sales that are coming from drawings, video, paintings, they're always the one that I'm able to make the project, because probably is where how I learned to get money, like, you know. So
Yeah,
because
but
I
it's
didn't
not
see
that
many
in
other
Europe.
options.
It's not so different for us, but maybe my opinion about institution is more radical. So for me, institutions and museum have a political impact on society, and I ask a lot from institutions. And we fight, or we can depict the reality from our point of view. So I'm here, I look at things here, and I fight for things here. Possibly I will never live in a place where I have mandatorily to work only with the market, no? But don't think that it's so different here. Without private collection and the galleries and incomes that come from gallery, we will be more or less in the same situation.
You probably have power negotiation now, you know. So when you don't have leverage, you know, so if the mom offer me, like, you know, an opportunity to do a piece, you're not negotiating, you know, you get what you get, you know. That's the reality of things, depending on the opportunity that you have. When I have the power of negotiation, sure, I can be a tough negotiator, but, you know, the reality is that the leverage that often you have, I'm talking about good institution, United States, I'm talking about good museum, is not that strong, like, you know, it's not that strong.
What we should probably take from what Marinella was saying is that, you know, it's important, and artists still don't do that enough, to actually stick together so that you can have more leverage. Because if you are a group of artists and you cooperate, then you have more leverage. I think that's crucial, actually. And and it's true that artists don't do that enough, not at all.
Let's do that.
So that would be a good lesson to go home with, right?
Let's do that.
But we are really we're running out of time, so we have to get to the end and open up to questions from the audience, which I see there are a couple. See what we have. Okay, so we have a question from Manuela, who is asking, what about you?
What?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand this question. Yeah, I think it's, oh, okay. Yeah, I think I understand it. So do you think that the pause, the fact that cultural institutions, what's that, Marinella? You were trying to say something?
No.
Oh, sorry. The fact that cultural institutions and museums had to stop damaged you directly. I think you touched on this briefly, but you want to say something?
Well, I just want to add that I disagree with the closing of museums, cinema, theater, because it's proven already that it's not a source of contagious. So it was really too tough to make it, at least here. And yeah, I think that sort of marches and other things that actually shouldn't be allowed will happen soon, because this is really a way to exclude a lot of workers, and we don't have I don't know in English, cassa integrazione and other benefit from the government. Welfare, thank you. So it was really stupid, and actually it's already proven by the scientists that it's not there where contagions happen mostly, and the theater, cinema are safe with the distance. So and even museum with their their different organization in terms of people coming in and out. So I really don't get it. I really don't get it.
I agree, and I believe that you know, it's not that I wanted to compare. You know, I think here was, I mean, at least for me, it was devastating, because this year I had 4 solo museum exhibition, which, by the way, they were giving me like a budget to create, you know, the work. And the first things I have to do, you know, 4 of my assistants, they were here, like, you know, 4 out of 8, I have to leave them home. You know, I was counting on develop all of this big exhibition, and this museum, they said, you know, we have to postpone. We have to postpone, and all of this money that were coming from institution, they were gone right there, you know. So it was really devastating for me.
On a personal level, I was very much fortunate, as I said before, because I had a very big commission by even fashion brand like Dior, and a lot of museum shows still running, because my practice foster a sort of participatory project that museum are really looking for. But I'm generally speaking, it's tragic, and I believe in no sense, honestly.
Yeah, well,
it's not like schools, it's not like market or sport, football matches. It's not about that. So people in culture were behaving properly, and we didn't have one positive.
I think it was panic, you know. I think it was panic. That's what it was. Because recently, like last week, I went to the Met Museum for the first time. I wanted to see Jacob Lawrence exhibition about the work they did about the civil rights movement, and it was impossible to see the exhibition because there was too many people. Like, you know, it was
there was a long line. I waited in line for an hour.
Yeah, but institutions are easy to control that. It's easy for them to control that. It's not like a football match, no? So now in museum that were open until yesterday, where we had the new measures that actually tomorrow will be active. So museum were dealing properly with that, because okay, we have a good public, but not so good as a concert of Madonna or a football match.
But also actually, gallery. If you think about gallery, if you think about it, even
private
in New York,
gallery, actually, you make appointment and you can go, of course. And so it's under control if a minimum organization is set.
If you think about it, like, you know, gallery in New York, which is supposed to be the center, like, you know, nobody goes to gallery even before COVID. So what kind of contamination you will have? I understand art fair.
Or theater, So
art fairs are a completely different thing than
art fairs are not art
I
exhibition.
Agree.
That's the big misunderstanding of the art community. Art fairs are not art exhibitions.
Not exhibitions. I agree.
And sadly, a lot of people think about, my students think about art fair in these very incorrect terms, but it's not fair. It's something made for galleries to sell products, art. Come on.
I just tell you one thing and then I'll let you go. Okay, people, what we should say in an environment like New York, and this is an apocalyptic situation. I tell you why. Because we live with super high cost here, super high cost of living, of health insurance, of rent, and when you basically cut the economy, which most of the sales, you know, for many artists in New York, they're coming from art fair. So I'm okay, but there is artists that they are desperate, like, you know, because we are living in a society that no matter what, we are in a complete disaster situation. You didn't get any penny from the government. You keep having huge expenses of rent, huge cost of living, huge cost of health insurance. You know, this is really like, you know, there's a lot of people, they are in the verge of collapsing, like, you know, in business too, of course, like talking about galleries and, you know, I see, like, in a way, like, you know, here, very extreme, you know, and people, they don't show it, but it is, you know. it's happening, you know. Anyway, I wish I would be more
yeah, this could open up to another hour of conversation, but unfortunately we don't have the time, and we don't have time for the other questions. Keep following us so that maybe we can answer next time. Thank you for being with us. Paolo, do you want to wrap up? Just one thing, you can go to marinellasenatore.com and federicosolmi.com to see their work. They have shows coming up in the next few days, so if you're in Italy or in the States, you can follow their work. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Maurita, and thank you, Marinella and Federico, for this brilliant conversation. Let me remind everybody that the recording will be available in a few days on our YouTube channel. And also, I would like to remind you that there's going to be another conversation.
The next episode. Oh, God.
On,
sorry.
Go ahead, Maurita.
No, you were talking about the next episode. It's
yes.
next Thursday. This time it's going to be just 1 week after this one. So Thursday, November 12th, I think it is. And we're going to have Laura Mattioli from CIMA and Marina Pugliese, who is a curator.
Thank you.
Thank you again, everybody, and thank you all our viewers for following.
Grazie. Ciao.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you all.
Ciao Marinella. Ciao Maurita.
Ciao, grazie.
Ciao.